After watching this video, I doubt you'll ever want to eat a buffet again. A friend of mine ran a barbecue buffet restaurant and invested over 1 million yuan, but it went out of business. His restaurant charged 59.90 yuan per person. I asked him why. With so many other restaurants on the street charging the same and still thriving, his couldn't survive. He said it was because he couldn't bring himself to cheat people. He explained that others would soak the meat in satiety agents. No matter how much you could normally eat, after a little bit, you'll feel very full. I said, "Isn't that deceiving people?" He said that's why they can survive, but he couldn't. He also showed me the dipping sauces. The sauce is made from crushed biscuits, mixed with sesame and peanut sauce flavoring. Whatever flavor you want, they've got it. It tastes exactly like sesame sauce, but when you eat it, it swells up in your stomach, making you feel full very fast.
This lady also revealed some shocking practices about seafood.
Even when seafood already smells bad, they still serve it. They wash it several times and soak it in anti-diarrhea medication. Sometimes they will even add the medication to the dipping sauce, so after eating, you won't get sick.
The behavior of these businesses is hard to accept. Who could have thought that enjoying a buffet could involve being secretly drugged? The very idea is terrifying. One viewer commented, "No wonder I always feel full after just a little bit at buffets. Now I know why." The vlogger explained further. Many buffet restaurants now have a 2-hour dining limit, saying you can't expect to eat endlessly for the price. But the truth is, it's because the satiety agents only last 2 hours. After that, you get hungry again and eat more. A restaurant worker described another shocking practice involving sesame sauce dips. The ingenuity behind China's counterfeit food is truly astonishing. Pure sesame sauce is expensive, so some vendors make their own. They heat oil, add flour or starch, and stir until thick. Once it's smooth, they add sesame flavoring, and suddenly it smells like real sesame. Then they mix in some cheaper peanut butter and maybe a little real sesame sauce for good measure. When it's all blended together, it becomes a flavored sesame sauce. Can you tell if it's real or not just by the taste? Some lazy vendors buy this ready-made in large containers at a low price. Check the ingredients list, it's probably similar to what I just described. There's more to buffets than you think, and it can't be explained in just a few sentences. Speaking of buffets, let's now look at the recent rise of braised pork in response to downgraded consumption. Traditional Shandong-style braised pork, known for being convenient and affordable, has recently gained popularity. But where does the incredibly cheap 2 yuan per slice braised pork come from? What does 1.6 yuan braised pork look like? Let me show you. A pack weighs about 20 pounds and contains around 100 slices, perfect for cafeterias, noodle shops, and braised pork restaurants. Its cheapness is understandable given the cost-effectiveness. Original cuts cost 3.2 yuan per slice, but this version costs only 1.6 yuan per slice. Some have commented that this braised pork is either made from synthetic fake pork, sliced after being compressed, or comes from deceased pigs of unknown origin. In any case, if it's sold for less than the cost of production, something is definitely wrong. China's booming food delivery industry is also full of scandals. On September 22nd, a former delivery driver posted a video exposing hidden truths about the industry. He claimed that top-ranked restaurants on delivery platforms use toxic, pre-made meals that even stray dogs won't eat. When we think of ordering food for delivery, we usually imagine it comes from a restaurant in the city center. The delivery driver picks it up from there and brings it to you. But in larger cities, that's not how it works. There's an area with nothing but kitchens, no storefronts, no signs. Hundreds of kitchens operate together, and all the delivery orders come from there. The drivers pick up the food from these kitchen hubs. He went on to reveal even more shocking secrets about the industry. First, the top-tier restaurants on food delivery platforms are actually owned by the platforms themselves. They manipulate data and delete negative reviews. A restaurant may have only been open for 3 days, but the platform claims it has already made 100,000 sales. Even worse, these top-ranked restaurants serve pre-made meals that were prepared 3 to 5 years ago. They're stored in plastic packaging and kept in freezers. When someone orders, the meal is simply thawed in hot water and paired with fresh rice. The delivery driver continued, "How bad is the problem with pre-made food? There are lots of stray dogs around these kitchen hubs. People often give the dogs leftovers, but if you put pre-made food on the ground, the dogs won't eat it. It's poisonous." This shocked everyone. We already know pre-made food was common, but no one expected it to be so toxic that even stray dogs won't touch it. Quail eggs are another popular street snack ingredient, but even these small eggs hide some shocking secrets. A reporter investigated a quail egg processing plant, and what the owner said was mind-blowing.
它有个是这种呀，就这种用。不知道我们是分了人吃了。没事，也不是难吃。这个的，好，然后那放进去，汤汁不烂。它这个弄了之后，放一个电视可以。
The truth is, China has reached a point where everyone's out to harm each other. The people selling quail eggs don't eat them themselves because they soak them in formaldehyde. Farmers also spray their sweet potatoes with highly toxic organophosphate pesticides, but they don't use the chemicals on the ones they eat. This is from an interview with the head of an organic sweet potato farm. What's the worst thing about growing sweet potatoes? Is it the use of organophosphate pesticides? Yes, organophosphate. What harms do organophosphates cause? They're extremely dangerous. Too much can be deadly. Even small amounts can damage the blood vessels in your brain. How do they apply it? They don't just spray it on the ground. Look, every sweet potato farm has a pipe system underground. They mix the pesticide with the irrigation water, and it goes directly into the sweet potatoes. It doesn't get absorbed by the soil first. That's brutal. Do all sweet potato farmers use organophosphates? They all do. But don't farmers eat sweet potatoes too? The ones they eat aren't treated with pesticide. They have a separate patch for themselves. Don't the bugs eat those? Yeah, they do. But so what? Some people ask, why do you eat the ugly, damaged ones? That's because the good-looking ones are sprayed with chemicals. In recent years, high-end Japanese restaurants have become very popular in China. They have spread across first and second-tier cities and are now expanding into smaller third and fourth-tier cities. Despite the trend of downgraded consumption and the struggles of the restaurant industry, people remain eager to open Japanese restaurants. It's said that there are now over 100,000 Japanese restaurants in China. The restaurants often share a similar decor: red lanterns with Japanese characters hung from the outside walls, and wooden doors with ukiyo-e Japanese art curtains. Stone lanterns sit by the entrance. Inside, warm lighting highlights wooden tables, chairs, tatami mats, and cushions. The Japanese ambiance is strong, which is why so many white-collar workers are drawn to them. Some say it's impossible to leave a Japanese restaurant without spending a few hundred yuan. Why? A look at the menu gives you the answer. Japanese restaurants are known for serving small portions at high prices. For example, a salmon platter costs 98 yuan. 5 pieces of sweet shrimp sashimi are 58 yuan. A grilled sauri costs 40 yuan. Grilled eel is 89 yuan. And sakiyaki is 288 yuan. But if you think the Japanese decor makes it authentic and all seafood is freshly imported from Japan, you're mistaken. With over 100,000 Japanese restaurants in China, imagine the logistical capacity required. The truth is, many smaller restaurants buy their seafood from local frozen wholesale markets. These frozen products are much cheaper than fresh imports. Today, let's follow a vlogger who reveals the hidden secrets of the Japanese restaurant industry in China. Let me show you what you're really getting for those hundreds of yuan you spend at Japanese restaurants. This sweet and sour gold brick foie gras, which tastes like ice cream, costs 37 yuan per bag, with 11 pieces inside, making it about 3.5 yuan each. These little sweet shrimp, a board of 30, costs 17.5 yuan, making it just over 50 cents each. Honestly, when you eat these at a Japanese restaurant, you're just throwing away your money, practically doing charity work for the owners. And then there's this bright red boiled Arctic clam. The largest size costs around 3 yuan each. If you get the smaller ones, it's only about 2 yuan. They just soak it in water, slice it, and sell it to you at 3 times the price. Now let's see how they make those overpriced sushimi and sushi. Look at this rice. It's shaped into rice balls. They take that 2 yuan Arctic clam, cut it in half, and place it on top. Boom, its value skyrocketed. Now, let's move on to sweet shrimp. You don't actually think they're using those expensive $5 jumbo shrimp to wrap it up, right? No, they're using 2 of those small sweet shrimp that cost 50 cents each. That's where the profit comes from. And check out the crab sticks. There's about 50 cents a piece. Well, let's just tear one apart. One is enough. Add a bit of mayo on top, and voila, we've got some science happening here. Then they torch it. You know, you can't grill food directly on your kitchen stove at home. It's toxic. But hey, let's just pretend we didn't see that. Now, what's cooking on top isn't hydrogen sulfide. It's carbon monoxide or sulfur dioxide. Are they really making food here or making poison? Then there's the sushi pieces. Those pre-made ingredients pulled straight from the fridge. Squeeze a few cents worth of stuff on top and call it a day. These pre-made items, their ingredients lists are as long as a marathon. This 5 yuan sushi fillet, flip it over and check the ingredients list. It's tilapia. You're eating 20 cents worth of fish at most. As for mackerel, they cut it into 50 cents worth and slap a different label on top. Who would pay for this? Salmon used to be good, but they torch it until it's nothing but bones. They just blast it with the torch. Who came up with this? Finally, they top it off with fake caviar. This whole dish cost me just over 10 yuan, but I could sell it to you for 108 without a problem. By now, after comparing the prices on the menu, you probably understand why there are so many Japanese restaurants. The profit margins are incredibly high, much higher than most other restaurants. High profits aren't necessarily a problem as long as you're eating real shrimp, but if you're served fake products, that's a different story. The so-called snapper is actually a tilapia. The crab stick has nothing to do with real crab. That fancy crab stick that costs you 40 to 50 yuan per portion, I can buy a whole board for 17 yuan. You know that wasabi octopus everyone loves? That's some serious trickery. It costs 40 yuan per kilogram, and 2 spoonfuls will sell for 25 yuan. The spicy clams are even worse. They cost 27 yuan, and just 2 spoonfuls, and they've made back the cost. That lobster salad? Don't think for a second the owner is making it by hand. It's 45 yuan a bag. Just squeeze it out and you're done. The most outrageous thing is the seaweed. One chopstick full costs you 18.8 yuan, while an entire bag costs 15 yuan and can be split into 10 portions. You couldn't make a 10 times profit selling weapons in Syria. Don't argue with me. Everything you eat at Japanese restaurants is exactly the same as what I've shown you here. Caviar costs 25 yuan per box. It's the real deal. That 500 yuan plus sushimi platter you're eating, that caviar comes from here. If you buy in bulk, it's even cheaper. A bag of takoyaki costs 22 yuan for 50 pieces. You can't tell me that street vendors selling takoyaki are using this, right? As for those Japanese desserts, if you can think of it, you can buy it. Will those high-end 1,000 yuan omakase ingredients be better? Of course. You're paying 2,000 yuan. They won't feed you something that's worth only 200 yuan. One viewer commented on the video, "Everything in this video is real. I've worked in the Japanese restaurant business for 2 years, and now sushi makes me sick. The only high-end sushi is the kind made in front of you by hand. Renting a small shop, spending 6 or 7,000 yuan on goods, you can easily make tens of thousands in profit. This business is extremely profitable. It won't make you sick, but whether you can stomach it is another matter. The rule is simple. Don't eat what you sell." Another viewer said, "I worked as an apprentice at a Japanese restaurant for just 1 day last year. I couldn't take it." The third commentator added, "Most Japanese restaurants that are still open today use these methods. The ones using real ingredients went out of business due to high costs." Many people are willing to pay the high cost for Japanese food because of its refined presentation. It looks premium, and the ingredients seem fresh. The food is light, and the nutrition is balanced. But to achieve this, restaurants need expensive, fresh ingredients. For instance, high-end Japanese restaurants use fresh sashimi, which is flash frozen right after being caught and airlifted to restaurants worldwide. This process keeps the fish texture fresh and elastic, but it also raises logistic costs. Small Japanese restaurants in China aren't willing to bear such costs. Frozen seafood, which is much cheaper, becomes their best alternative. So with over 100,000 Japanese restaurants in China, it's hard to tell how many are genuinely authentic. Last year, the release of Japan's nuclear-contaminated water exposed even more of these restaurants. On August 24th of last year, Japan started releasing contaminated water from the Fukushima nuclear disaster. At the same time, China's custom authorities banned all seafood imports from Japan. This hit the authentic Japanese restaurant hard, and it also made it impossible for the fake ones to claim they were using Japanese imports. But that was just the beginning. With China's media pushing anti-Japanese sentiment, Chinese consumers started to boycott all Japanese products and services. This delivered an even greater blow to these restaurants. In response, many Japanese restaurants in China quickly distanced themselves from Japan. Some said their products had nothing to do with Japan. Others claimed their brand was entirely domestic. Some even admitted our ingredients aren't from Japan. They came from local seafood wholesale markets. It's all domestic. One restaurant owner in Guizhou took it further, live streaming himself tearing down Japanese-themed wallpaper and lanterns in his shop. Many Japanese restaurants shut down completely, but some survived by rebranding. And now, with China lifting the ban on Japanese seafood on September 20th, could we see a revival for these restaurants? Food safety in China has always been a major issue. Scandals keep popping up. Listening to all these incidents is truly shocking.
Eating fried dough, there's detergent in it. Eating eggs, they are full of hormones. Having a bun, it's made from lymphatic meat. Soy milk, it's got soy milk extract. Mooncakes have sodium hydroacetate. Vegetables have pesticides. Meat has lean meat powder. Fish have antibiotics. Squid has formaldehyde. Chicken feet are washed in caustic soda. Cured meat has sodium nitrate. Dumplings contain borax. Flour has bleaching agents. Sauerkraut has foot fungus. Sausages have ground bone paste. Goji berries are treated with sulfur. Fruit has growth hormones. Ice cream has E. coli. Yogurt has gel. Canned food has sodium benzoate. Chips have TBHQ. Kimchi has nitrites. Drinks have aspartame. Jelly has sucralose. Candy has saccharin. Bread has trans fats. Cake has vegetable cream. Braised pork has red yeast. Hot pot uses gutter oil. Fried skewers have ethyl maltol. Spicy hot pot has condensed milk. Milk tea has non-dairy creamer. Takeout uses pre-made ingredients. Chili has Sudan dye. Milk powder has melamine. Milk has carrageenan. Beer has urine. Liquor has artificial essence. Water has chlorine. Oyster sauce has E635. Salt has potassium furosonide. Spicy snacks have sodium erythorbate. Cookies have sodium metabosulfite. Instant noodles have emulsifiers. Snail noodles have odor enhancers. Soy sauce has GMO soybeans. Cooking oil has kerosene. How can anyone survive like this?
These greedy businesses are not only harming others, but they're harming themselves too. People's spending power in China has been dropping steadily. Sure, that's partially due to downgraded consumption, but food safety scandals also play a big role. As this woman said,
Bread isn't selling anymore, deli food isn't selling, beer isn't selling, drinks aren't selling, fruit isn't selling, and snacks aren't selling. It's not our fault we're not buying. You use too many preservatives, too much colouring, too many additives. It's all fake. We end up spending all our money at the hospital instead. The streets are empty, the supermarkets are empty, and the malls are empty, but the hospitals are packed. Who dares to eat this stuff anymore? Businesses shutting down? They deserve it. Absolutely deserve it.